So, how do we even begin to reconstruct a world that vanished thousands of years ago? It's not about memorizing a long list of dates and kings. Nope, it's a detective story. And today, we're going to put on our detective hats and investigate the clues left behind by ancient India. We're going to figure out how historians actually build our picture of the past. Okay, let's dive right in. Think about it. Our crime scene is millennia old. The witnesses, long gone. All we really have are fragments: a broken seal from some lost city, a piece of everyday pottery, a verse from a sacred text that might be part history, part myth. So, how in the world do you piece together a coherent story from such scattered, silent clues? That's the huge mystery we're tackling in this explainer. To crack an ancient cold case like this, historians have a toolkit, and it's really got two main categories of evidence. You can think of them as two different types of clues. You've got the physical evidence left at the scene, and then you have the witness statements, the stories recorded a long, long time ago. Each one tells us something totally different, and the real magic, the real detective work, happens when we start comparing them. And believe me, these two types of clues could not be more different. On one side, you have archaeology. This is the tangible stuff, the things you can actually touch: tools, buildings, bones. It's totally silent, but it's direct physical evidence. On the other side, you've got literary sources: texts, poems, inscriptions. This is the narrative evidence, the stories people told about themselves. They have a voice, which is great, but they also come with biases, their own perspectives, and definitely their own agendas. So let's start with that physical evidence. Archaeology. It literally lets us uncover the world people lived in. By studying all the things they left behind, from these massive cities down to the tiniest little beads, we can start to reconstruct how they lived, what they built, and what they cared about, all without a single written word from them. The Harappan civilization is just the perfect case study for this. Excavations have revealed these meticulously planned cities with grid-like streets, advanced drainage systems that would honestly impress us even today, and standardized bricks used across hundreds of miles. This silent evidence, it just screams that this was a sophisticated, super-organized society with a high degree of central planning. We even know they traded thanks to their distinctive seals that have been found as far away as Mesopotamia. But you might be asking, how do we know when all of this happened? Well, that's where science comes in. Archaeologists use these amazing techniques like carbon-14 dating on organic stuff, like wood or bone, and thermoluminescence on things like pottery. These methods basically act like a forensic clock, letting us place these silent artifacts neatly into a timeline, giving a real structure to our story. But here's where we hit a wall. A big one. For all that their incredible cities tell us, the Harappans' greatest secret is locked away in their beautiful script. We have thousands of examples of it, but no one has been able to crack the code. And this really gets to a fundamental limit of archaeology. It can show us the what, but it often can't tell us the why. We can't hear their voices, their beliefs, or their stories directly from them. To hear those voices, we have to turn to our second set of clues: the literary sources. These are the stories, the hymns, the laws. They give us a glimpse into the minds of the people, their social structures, and their whole worldview. Now, these ancient texts weren't like modern books at all. Take the Vedas, for example. They were composed around 1500 BCE, but for centuries they were only transmitted orally. You had priests memorizing and reciting hundreds of thousands of verses with perfect precision. Just think about that. It means these texts were living, breathing documents long before they were ever written down, shaped by generations passing them on. Of course, literary sources have their own big challenge: bias. This quote here is from a royal inscription called a prashasti. And what's that? Well, it's basically a glowing resume for a king. So, of course, it's going to say he's the greatest warrior who ever lived. Historians have to learn to read between the lines, to try and separate what's plausible from what's pure propaganda. And then you have the great epics, like the Mahabharata. Traditionally, they're known as itihasa, which literally means "thus it happened." They weren't seen as fiction, you see. They were seen as a record of the past. But for a modern historian, the question is, well, did it happen exactly like that? Is this a genuine witness statement, or is it a legend built around a kernel of truth? And this brings us right to the heart of what a historian does. What do you do when the physical evidence and the witness statements seem to tell different stories? What happens when the archaeology just doesn't seem to match the literature? This is where the real detective work begins.
I absolutely love this quote from the historian Upinder Singh because it just gets to the truth of it all. Good history isn't about finding simple, neat answers. It's about embracing the complexity, understanding the debates, and being honest about what we just don't know. The goal isn't some false sense of certainty, it's a genuine appreciation for the messy, textured reality of the past.
Which leads us to the classic question, the one that historians of ancient India always grapple with. Can the silent stones of archaeology actually validate the epic stories told in the literature? Can we find physical proof of the Kurukshetra war in the soil? This right here is the perfect example of the problem. For decades, archaeologists have noticed something fascinating. There's a specific type of pottery called painted gray ware, and it's found in the very locations mentioned in the Mahabharata, and it dates to roughly the time the epic conflict might have happened. So is that a smoking gun, or is it just a coincidence? It's really compelling, it's great circumstantial evidence, but it's not definitive proof. It connects a material culture to a literary narrative, but that link, well, it's still the subject of some pretty intense debate.
So, where does all this leave us? It leaves us with the understanding that history is not a closed book. Not at all. It's an unwritten chapter, an ongoing investigation where a new clue could surface at any moment and force us to rethink everything we thought we knew. You know, if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's that our knowledge of the past isn't just a static set of facts. It's a dynamic, ongoing process of interpretation and discovery. Every new generation of historians brings new tools and new questions to the table, constantly refining and, yeah, sometimes completely overturning our understanding.
And that leaves us with one final, pretty exciting thought. What if tomorrow someone finally deciphers the Harappan script? What if a new excavation unearths something that undeniably links a simple pot to an epic poem? The story of the past is never really finished. The next clue could be just under the surface, waiting to be found.